Good morning, everybody. I felt the need to make a video today because of a few things that have happened this week that have really bothered me, and I just, gotta talk about them. So, first thing is being misgendered at work. Now, when this happens, I don't visibly react, and I try not to behave any differently than I would if someone didn't misgender me. It's just because I do not want to make the situation awkward at all with the customer, like potentially awkward, or, you know, like maybe if I just, want to let it go by, focus on the customer, and, help them with whatever they need, and just, leave whatever I'm feeling behind because I don't want that to be the forefront of our conversation. Like, I haven't tried to correct anybody, mostly because I'm never going to see them again. So, the importance of doing so, I mean, it is important because I do want to be read correctly, but in the moment, I just feel like it's not a good idea. As much as I want to be read correctly, it's just, you just kind of have to pick and choose or sacrifice. I don't know. I mean, I know other people deal with it maybe a little more assertively, maybe even aggressively, but I guess I'm afraid that if I make a deal out of my gender, someone may even think more so, oh, this person's trans or something. Like I don't want people to look at me and be like, oh, he's trans, or even use the wrong pronoun and say that. So I mean that's been tough. Like even when I speak, okay, like I think my voice is convincingly male enough. I know maybe it's on like the higher pitched end, but I think that it speaks male. And even when I speak, I've been continually referred to as female, and I don't understand why. So like when I go home, I end up thinking about, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with my body? Like, why is it like this? I don't like it like this. I just feel so disappointed with myself. I feel unhappy with how I am. I feel like there's something wrong with my face. It's so feminine and like soft and round, and my hips and thighs or like the size of my butt makes people recognize me incorrectly. I don't blame those people because I don't think, at least anyways, I don't think they're, intentionally trying to read me as female, on purpose. They're not looking to insult me, so it's not their fault. So I just end up feeling like it's mine innately. And I just keep wondering what can I change? What should I change, if anything? I mean, I know the things that should change are things that I am not happy about personally on my own. And that includes, a few of the things I just described, like my face or my hips and my thighs and the size of my butt. And, I can't change my height, unfortunately. I wish my voice was not as high pitched. um, yeah, I mean, I'm really, I'm still not that confident in myself because I'm still not happy with where I am in the process. I know that it takes a while before, everything really settles in. But, right now it's just not that pleasant, especially being misgendered, because oftentimes I am looking to feel validated that, oh yes, finally I'm being read, the way I should be. But then whenever I'm misgendered, it just, you know, it's a really hurtful impact, and they're not doing it intentionally, but it hurts, and I end up feeling pretty down about it. Like, why is this happening still? It's been over a year, and I'm still being read incorrectly. Like, I understand that where I live, there are women who dress quite masculine, and, perhaps maybe these customers that refer to me as female thought, oh, maybe it's a masculine woman, and if I called her a he, they would probably not be very happy, so, it's probably not that easy for them either. I was also misgendered in class at school, and uh, I had shown my TA a project that I made. It was a vintage phone in a 3D program. And I guess other students had seen it. So when the TA went to the other students, who were sitting behind me, one guy was like, oh yeah, I just made a silly model, not a cool phone like she did. And when I heard the words cool phone, I had turned around and was smiling embarrassed, because I knew that I was being, praised or flattered about my project. But then hearing the pronoun she, I just felt my heart sink on the inside. But I tried, not to change my facial expression, not to, look upset or anything. But just inside, it did not feel good at all. Um, like other things that happened this week, uh, I have this one friend, she seems to be a little too open about herself, and I guess about other people. She came to me one day and said, hi, I found a guy that I like, and he's a transgender like you. And I just thought, that sure is a nice way to refer to who I am, what I am. It just didn't sound right. It sounded really bad. Like, it was kind of disrespectful. And I told her, like, that's nice, but I don't think he or I would like being referred to in that way. Um, so it just made it sound like an object. A transgender. Like, it's like saying, like, I don't know. It's just like you're really putting it out there in the forefront. Like, when I want someone to look at me, I don't want them to see, like, oh, that's a transgender. I just want to be like a man. Like, that's a dude. That's a guy. Like, I mean, nothing. There's nothing negative about being trans at all, but it's just the way it was brought up. I mean, that's like saying, like, they're an Asian like you, or you know they're a white like you, or they're a black, like a race, or they're a homosexual like you, or they're a heterosexual like you. It's just, see, it just doesn't sound right. It doesn't. Um, I mean, something about. I mean, it's different if like they're a bicyclist, they're an artist, they're a musician. That's different. But then something that's innately you. It's, I don't know. I mean, those are sensitive things. So those are sensitive topics: race, gender, and um, orientation. I just don't think that they should be referred to in that way. They're usually personal identity related things. You don't refer to them like that. Anyways, I said, that's nice, and she was saying, um, you know, I'm so excited, it's what I've always been looking for, and I honestly don't think she knows what she's talking about, but I said, well, that's good, but just don't tell him about me, okay? As in, don't tell him that I too am, female to male. That is something for me to share on my own terms. Then she got quiet, and then I was like, what, you told him already? And she just dug herself a deeper hole. She's like, I'm sorry, I forgot it was a touchy subject. I really was pissed. I mean, it was just going all wrong. It was insensitive, it was disrespectful, it was an invasion on my privacy, that I entrusted to this person. And she's like, I'm sorry. And then it seemed like she was more focused on how bad she felt as opposed to a concern about my feelings. It's like, I'm so torn up that I hurt you unintentionally, instead of like, I'm sorry, I'll try to respect your privacy next time, I really apologize, it's my fault, like, trying so hard not to be sexist here. But anyways, yeah, was, it just felt really, like, insensitive, because later, she's like, oh, do you want to meet him? Like, thanks for paying attention to how I feel about it in the moment. So that was really shitty. Because, unfortunately, with a lot of people, maybe not a lot, but there are some people, if you tell them about your trans identity, it just somehow trips them out, and then they don't understand you really, or like they somehow have like a back doorway to invalidate you, or point out things about you that don't match up with the gender binary, and then it just that's personal information that the one that it pertains to is allowed to share only on their own terms. And yeah, I just was so upset by it. I mean, it was really hard not to just, feel like, okay, I'm just gonna cut you off now. But I didn't, and I don't know, I just tried to let it be. One last annoying thing that happened this week. I know this video is really long, but I just gotta say it all. I was in a conversation with one friend, and I guess he brought his girlfriend over. This is online, so it's not in person, but we were just talking about how it's hard to find good people on the internet. And the girlfriend was like, yeah, being anonymous seems to bring the worst out of people. And I was just simply saying, I couldn't, take advantage of being anonymous and, lie to someone about something, or, be mean to them just because no one would know who I am. And the girlfriend was like, yeah, I was just telling, let's call my guy friend that brought his girlfriend over. Let's call him Derek. She was like, yeah, I was telling Derek about, this one person, that I knew for a few months. they pretended to be a man. And at first thought, I didn't, think too deeply about it. I was wondering, how could that be hurtful to this girl? Like, did they play with her feelings or something? And then the girlfriend said, I thought that, they were a guy for a long time, but then one day I found out they were actually a woman. They lied to me. And, you know, I I had asked, did they play with your feelings? And I sent that question out too late because her next line was, you know, they were transgender, and living as a man in real life. But I can't believe they lied to me. And because I can relate with that situation, the trans guy's situation, being accused of being, of lying. I can relate to that so well. That was just a bad conversation, and I, tried not to be confrontational. I just said, "Oh, really? Well, if he lives as a man in, real life, and he identifies as one, then he's a guy." But she just insisted that this guy lied to her. I mean, it was just wrong on many levels. She's like, I don't judge people. I mean, it just wasn't making any friggin' sense. She was invalidating this guy. I mean, I don't know the actual, specifics of what happened, but she has knowledge that he lives as a guy in real life. She has knowledge that he is indeed trans. You should. He's a guy. He didn't lie. If anything, some information about his past surfaced. Either he shared it or she found out. And see, it changed her opinion of him. And it was just so frustrating. I mean, I just gently made my point that he's a guy if he identifies as one, he lives as one, regardless of how he's born. But for her, it seems like it says this: you should have just told me the truth from the beginning that you're indeed a woman. You're a woman because you were born a woman. That's what I saw. I mean, maybe I'm a little more edgy because, like, I haven't had my, injection. Like, usually Friday nights I get a little less happy. But, during that moment, my friend Derek, he didn't say anything. Like, he just said, well, I don't mind people not sharing their gender as long as they don't lie to it about me. And it just kind of would have been nice had he said something that would have, let me know what, like, where his stance is on it. Because I am out to him. And so for him to be, witness to this conversation, I was surprised that he didn't try to let me know that he understands how I feel and is on my side about it. Because prior to this, it seems like, everything was fine between he and I, that, he got me, he understood where I'm coming from, that he doesn't invalidate my identity in any way. But then after that, I just kind of questioned, how far does he understand? I mean, maybe this girl doesn't doesn't know how to properly handle sensitive issues like this. of people coming out and being trans. Maybe she doesn't know how to handle it respectfully. Maybe she's ignorant in that sense. But yeah, it was just bad. Man, this video is like 20 minutes already. Gosh, I talk too much. But anyways, I just really had to get it all out there. I just had to. Because I'm alone for like 6 days in a row this week. Like, I did not open my mouth to anybody yesterday because I was home by myself, and it kind of sucks. It'll be like that for another 4 to 5 days. Well, thanks for listening. I applaud anyone who actually watched this the entire 20 minutes, but thanks for being around. Okay, bye.